met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. Man, Lord.
He's supposed to be mad.
They could get their money back was however their money back. He said, but Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the three. I'm up, I got the next, and they passed the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting against them up. In town.
Boosie just threw major shade at J. Prince Jr. This ain't no casual call-out. It's about Duke the Jeweler and that deadly setup that's been haunting the streets since 2022. Now J. Prince Sr. is clapping back, and the drama's getting even messier. For a long time, people pointed fingers at Boosie, saying he was the one who set Duke up. They said, Boosie lined him up. But now, Boosie's had enough of staying quiet. He's dropping names, calling out real connections, and turning the spotlight on the ones who actually pulled strings. Mob ties.
We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot.
The internet's going wild, and the feds, they're already poking around again. But here's the question. Who really orchestrated that setup that night? So rewind to November 2022. Duke the Jeweler, a respected 29-year-old, was gunned down in what was called a robbery just after attending Boosie's concert in Houston. And boom, rumors exploded.
They get lined up.
Any real dude that's ever really been in LA, he checked in. Any real dude that's ever been in Atlanta, he checked in. If you moving and you getting money, you gonna check in because you need to know the right places to be and places not to be. That's a businessman.
Folks started whispering that Boosie either set it all up or knew exactly who did it. Word in the streets was the two guys who ambushed Duke weren't just randoms. They were connected to Boosie, family level close. While the internet ran wild with the theory, Boosie stayed silent, but the streets didn't. They kept pointing, digging, speculating. For months, everyone bought that version. But now, the streets are turning around and side-eyeing someone who's been chilling in the background this whole time, J. Prince Jr., the son of Houston's so-called hip-hop godfather. While Boosie was catching all the heat, the real mastermind might have been laying low, hidden in plain sight. And now that mask, it's slipping fast. The whole thing doesn't just look suspicious. It looks like it was planned from the jump.
Everybody be checking in. That's your favorite thing to do, check in with somebody that's gonna rob your stupid ass.
Wow.
Yo, you think that guy, the guy that you don't know in California got your back?
Boosie! He was never the boss in this. He was the perfect fall guy, allegedly. Why? Because he was there. Performed that night, maybe even invited Duke. And yeah, people were saying Duke's Louis Vuitton bag ended up in Boosie's house, but none of that proves a motive. It just proves he was close, not guilty. And that's what made him perfect to pin it on. The fall guy is always the one already knee-deep in legal mess. And Boosie, he was the easiest target.
That occurred that a certain jeweler around and got past the dice on accident and was hitting on them for a couple hundred because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was however their money back. Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the three designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they passed the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting against them up. In town.
Boosie's name been wrapped in baggage for years. Gun charges, the Terry Boyd trial, all those headlines that never really left him alone. Even after beating the charges, folks still kept his name tied to trouble. In the court of public opinion, he was already guilty. They just needed a juicy story to stick it to him again. But now, Boosie's fed up and breaking his silence. He's dropping names and saying it loud.
Prince, over the years, the decades of doing whatever he's doing, he's been having a way of brainwashing people.
Oh, yeah?
J. Prince Jr., y'all tried to line me up. Straight like that. Boosie says he didn't even know Duke like that. They bumped into each other at a dice game. And the next day, Duke popped up at Boosie's concert solo. A few hours later, Duke's gone. Killed in what's being called a robbery in some parking lot? Nah, that timeline's too messy.
Industry these street homie that's projecting these rules and then coming here playing like they admirable men with street rules and street exit. Nah, homie, them little was set up that night.
Boosie ain't sugarcoating anything. He's calling it for what it is, a setup. And now, people are really starting to listen. Because Duke didn't get hit in Baton Rouge. He was gunned down in Houston. And Boosie doesn't run Houston. But guess who does? Jay Prince Jr. Even folks in H-Town are jumping online, defending Boosie. One user said loud and clear, if you from Houston, you know what went down. Boosie had nothing to do with it.
You heard Junior was the father, and after your mom did her due diligence, what was your thought?
I think that this girl that had the baby, I think she used to work around Junior. So I believe bro bumped into her around Junior, you know what I'm saying?
Another straight up question the logic, saying, why would Boosie set up a robbery in a city he ain't even from? That's bold and wild. People are finally starting to think with some sense instead of chasing clout. And someone else put the spotlight right where it hurts. Boosie didn't have anything to do with that man's death. Look at Jay Prince Jr. And here's the kicker. Guess who was also at that dice game? Jay Prince Jr. himself. The same dude who's allegedly been running Houston street politics, forcing folks to check in just to move around his city.
Man,
That's not just influence, that's control. Sources say if you're an artist, a rapper, or even just an influencer, you do not touch down in Houston without tapping in with the princes. That's the rule. But
just called something, some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes tried to rob him. I had just met dude yesterday. We was in a garage. He must have walked outside to the parking lot. We was in a garage. We heard this.
Duke, he did check in and still ended up gone. That's not just shady, that's predatory. Because this whole check-in thing, it ain't about safety, it's about control. And Duke ain't the only one. Takeoff, same story. Checked in, still got lined up. Word out west is Big U allegedly got the same game going. Artists have to check in. And if they don't...
He's a clown. Like, I love the hip-hop culture. I'm in love with the hip-hop culture. Blood, sweat, and tears went in my movement for the hip-hop culture.
Suddenly they slip up. It's becoming a pattern. Even rappers like PNB Rock allegedly followed the rules and still got caught up. And Schoolboy Q, he called it for what it is. Said rappers are getting robbed by the same folks they're checking in with. It's not protection, it's extortion wrapped up with a friendly grin. So now the Duke the Jeweler case, it's screaming suspicious all over again. That dice game wasn't just some friendly bet. It was a setup, fatal and filthy. And Boosie, he was never the one calling shots. He was the bait all along. Then it got even wilder when Whack 100 jumped into the mix, loud, raw, and fully unfiltered. He ain't hold back at all. Whack straight up said what everyone's been whispering. That dice game was a setup. And Duke, he wasn't robbed, he was targeted, lined up on purpose. And who's Whack pointing at? Jay Prince Jr.'s own crew. He name-dropped Lil Cam in the circle around him, allegedly running a dice table where the odds were never real, a fixed game where the house always wins, unless somebody catches on and it all falls apart. That night, Duke walked straight into a trap and didn't even know it. Whack 100 said it straight. Duke started hitting on dice he wasn't supposed to touch. And just like that, the whole setup fell apart. See, when you mess with a rigged game built on ego, power, and stacks of money, somebody has to pay. And Duke, he paid with his life. According to Whack, Jay Prince has been playing a long game, convincing people he's a protector, all while quietly pulling strings from the shadows. It's not about respect, it's about control from behind the scenes. But Whack wasn't the only one speaking up. Charleston White jumped into the mix too, and he didn't hold back. He said Duke's death hit different. Not just because Duke was talented, but because it should have never happened. Charleston straight up blamed the culture around mob ties, saying they built an environment in Houston that isn't just dangerous, it's deadly. Artists think checking in means protection. But what they're really stepping into, a loaded game where everyone around them is a shark in disguise. He said Duke didn't die because he disrespected anyone. He died because he was too trusting. He checked in with the wrong crew and didn't even realize the game was set before he sat at the table. And Charleston didn't stop there. He dragged the whole industry, said this ain't no protection, it's just glorified extortion. a twisted street code where staying silent is how you stay alive. Most rappers, too scared to even whisper the truth. Charleston said it plain. Duke's death wasn't some random act. It was a ritual, a warning, and now the silence is starting to crack. Even 50 Cent threw some heat on it. 50 Cent didn't say much, but what he did post, it had the streets buzzing. Cryptic clips, shady captions, and subtle support for Boosie. Just enough to make people start side-eyeing the situation harder than ever. Then came the wild finesse 2x drama, and that one sent the whole internet into a tailspin. Word on the block is that J. Prince Jr. allegedly got Finesse's girl pregnant behind his back. And Finesse wasn't quiet about it either. He was loud, emotional, and clearly done with the whole mob ties connection. And if silence equals guilt, then this rumor is screaming. J. Prince Jr. never denied it, not a word to shut down the whispers. And Finesse, the same guy who once shouted out mob ties with pride, now he won't even say their name. He ghosted them completely. Just cold silence, awkward vibes, and loyalty that feels dead. Now fans are seeing it all unravel, the drama with Takeoff, Boosie calling out names, Finesse's fallout, and whose name keeps showing up every time? J. Prince Jr. The internet ain't buying the silence anymore. It's too loud. People are starting to believe the empire that once ruled off fear and influence is finally cracking. One fan wrote, J. Prince set up so many people. He's had folks knocked off for less. Another dropped this bomb. J. Prince did it, not Boosie. And Duke the jeweler, he wasn't just some flashy dude in diamonds. He was a self-made king out of Chicago. No handouts, no label favors, just raw grind and real skill. Started out in a tight little studio in the early 2000s, sketching designs by hand, and turned it into an empire of his own. Before long, his custom work was everywhere. Vogue spreads, elite red carpets. He crafted for Rihanna, King Von, 50 Cent. Even Boosie rocked his pieces. But Duke's creations weren't just shiny, they were statement pieces. They were legacy. And that made him a threat. Duke's rise wasn't quiet, it was powerful. And when power meets independence in this game, somebody always feels uncomfortable. Duke didn't just walk into the wrong room, he walked into a lion's den, wearing gold, trusting snakes, and shaking hands that already had blood on them. That room, it wasn't just a dice game, it was a high-stakes trap, hosted by none other than J. Prince Jr. Sources say he ran the table that night, cleaned out the whole spot, walked away with over 100 grand. But that big win might have signed Duke's fate, because just hours later, Duke was robbed, stripped of his jewelry, his money, his phone, and then shot. Not once, not twice, multiple times, like somebody wanted him gone for good. And the industry still hasn't recovered. Duke's death hit different. This wasn't no random stick-up. It felt like a straight-up execution, precise, cold, intentional. Now Boosie's out here fighting to clear his name, begging folks to understand he had nothing to do with it. When the footage dropped showing his reaction to Duke's passing, you could see it in his face. He looked wrecked, couldn't even speak. It really seemed like he didn't see it coming. And maybe he really didn't. But now J. Prince Sr. is coming out swinging, throwing shots at Boosie, flipping the script, trying to paint him as the mastermind. But the streets, they're not buying it. Not when Takeoff got taken out in the same city. And the coroner's report said Takeoff was hit in the head and torso, multiple shots. That don't sound like a stray bullet like they claimed. That sounds like someone meant to take him out. Now J. Prince Sr. is clapping back at Wack 100 for siding with Boosie, calling Wack a clown, calling him loud. But people online, they're saying Jay's just trying to dodge the real smoke. Because this ain't just about Boosie or Duke. This is about a system built on fear, silence, and fake protection. A system where artists are forced to check in just to move through a city they don't even control. A system where even self-made bosses like Duke, who built an empire by hand, ain't safe once they walk into the wrong room. Duke's death didn't just shake the jewelry game. It cracked open something darker. It exposed how twisted this game really is. Boosie says he was the bait, finessed 2 times, fell all the way back, Takeoff, checked in, and still didn't make it home. And now J. Prince Sr. looks like he's scrambling to hold it all together. But if this is only the beginning, who's the next to speak or vanish? If you're feeling this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay locked in. We've got more coming, and trust, it only gets deeper from here. Catch you in the next one.